Once upon a time, in a land far away, there was a beautiful princess who lived in a big stone castle on a green hill. And many servants worked every day to cook for her, clean her rooms, brush her long hair, and bring her lovely dresses. But even with all these things, the princess was not happy because a cruel enchanter had fallen in love with her and wanted to keep her only for himself. So he used dark magic to change himself into a giant black cat with shining eyes, and this huge cat followed the princess everywhere she went. In the garden, in the halls, and even near her room. And everyone in the kingdom was afraid of the strange animal. And wise people said that the cat was not a real animal, but a man under a spell. And the only way to break this curse was for a brave prince to step on the giant cat's tail while it slept. So not very far from that kingdom, there lived a handsome young prince who heard the sad story from travelers on the road. And he said, "This is terrible. The princess must be free." And he told his ministers, "Do not tell anyone I am coming, because if the cat knows, it will run away." And that night he came quietly to the castle. And when the moon was high and the giant cat was sleeping on the floor, the prince walked softly, lifted his foot, and stepped hard on the cat's long tail, and the cat jumped up with a loud cry. And in a flash of light, the cruel enchanter stood there, angry and shaking, and he shouted, "You have freed the princess, but I will curse you in return." And he pointed at the prince and said, "Your first son will be born with an enormous nose, and he will not be king unless he truly accepts it." And then the enchanter disappeared like smoke in the wind, and the prince felt confused and thought, "This curse makes no sense. If my son has a big nose, he will see it. And a big nose is not so bad." So he did not worry. And the princess was free and very happy. And soon she married the prince, and there was a great feast with music, dancing, and lights. And the people of the kingdom laughed and sang because the evil enchanter was gone. And the prince was so happy with his new wife that he forgot the curse and never told anyone about it. And years passed, and the princess, who is now queen, had a baby boy named Prince Hyacinth. But joy turned into sadness because the queen became very ill and died. And before the kingdom could heal from this loss, more bad news came that the king's ship had sunk in the sea during a storm. So the little baby prince was now the only heir. But when the ministers looked at him closely, they saw something strange. The baby had a very, very large nose that covered much of his face. And they remembered nothing about a curse. So they felt fear and said, "We must protect the prince from shame." And they made a plan that no one in the palace should ever say his nose was big. And they removed every picture of men with normal noses. And they told teachers to show only heroes and kings with large noses. And they even asked some men to wear fake big noses when they came to the palace. Children were taught to laugh at small noses and praise large ones. And so Prince Hyacinth grew up believing his nose was a sign of beauty and power, and he felt proud and strong, and he was kind, brave, and smart. But he did not know the truth, and when he became a young man, the minister said, "My prince, it is time for your coronation. But first, you must marry." And the prince said, "Wish to marry the princess of a nearby land. She has a small nose. But I have a big heart and will accept her." And the ministers agreed and sent messages. But before the wedding, news came that the princess had been taken by a strange curse and was trapped in a crystal palace. So Prince Hyacinth said, "Prepare the army. I will save her." And he rode out with soldiers to Bahia. But a strong sandstorm in the desert separated him from his men, and when he woke up, he was alone in a strange place, tired, hungry, and thirsty. And he saw a small hut and knocked on the door. And an old woman opened it and said, "Come in. You look tired." But then she stared and said, "What a large nose you have." And the prince felt strange because no one had ever spoken like that. She talked and talked, asking many questions about his nose. And the prince thought she spoke too much, but he was hungry, so he went inside, and he saw the hut was full of beautiful things, like a palace. And the woman said she was once a queen who lost her way while telling stories. And she laughed and said his nose was bigger than the giant cat in a story she knew. And the prince became upset and said, "Please stop talking about my nose." And he left. But her words stayed in his mind. And on his way, he reached a market where people pointed at him and giggled. And he saw everyone had small noses and looked fine. And for the first time, he felt doubt. And when he reached the Crystal Palace, he called to the princess, climbed up, and took her hand. But when he tried to kiss her hand to break the curse, his big nose stopped him. And he could not reach, and he felt sad and said, "My nose is too large. I never saw it before." And the old woman appeared and said, "I am not just a woman. I came to help you see the truth." And she told him about the curse, that he must truly accept his flaw. And the prince looked at himself and said, "My nose is big, and I must live with it." And at that moment, a soft light shone, and the curse broke, and his nose became normal. And the princess was free, and the woman smiled and said, "We all have flaws, but we must see them to grow." And the prince and princess returned home, married, and ruled wisely. And the kingdom was happy, because their king was truly flawless. Nods, because he had no flaws, but because he understood himself and was kind and honest.